I'm Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis, and thank you for tuning in for your CBS 8 Plus weather update. We were still locked into the heat for today. Daytime highs still peaking above seasonal, well above seasonal across most of the county. Widespread 80s were back in that forecast. We had 84 degrees for Vista today, 84 degrees as well for Valley Center, 89 degrees today in Escondido. You also had 70s and even 81 degrees for Carlsbad right there along the North County coastline. We had 78 degrees for downtown, and for downtown, that put downtown about 11 degrees above seasonal for this time of the year. Still holding on to those warmer than usual temperatures with a range of about 5 to 15 degrees, and it goes up just a little bit more by tomorrow, and that's because that area of high pressure is still going to be our main weather maker. You have clear skies expected overnight, and also your overnight lows widespread in the 50s, 57 degrees for Poway, 50 degrees for Miramar, 55 degrees for downtown and for Chula Vista. You have the 40s and 50s right there across the mountains, and 43 degrees expected for Ramona. We get to our daytime highs for tomorrow. As I mentioned, we're still talking about high pressure overhead, locked into the heat. That will keep going for tomorrow. Some areas could get a little bit warmer, especially when you're talking about 80 degrees for downtown. That would also put downtown above seasonal again. So still talking about these warmer than usual temperatures in our forecast, potentially even talking about 10 to 20 degrees above seasonal. For some areas, the peak of the heat will be tomorrow, and then we start to back away from it by the second half of the weekend, which is also the first day of February, and that's going to be on Sunday. You have 80 degrees expected for Carlsbad, 84 degrees for Valley Center, 87 degrees for El Cajon, also 60s and 70s right there across the mountains. If you're looking to beat the heat right along the coast for this weekend, not a bad idea. You have your surf about 3 to 5 feet, also a high risk of rip currents at our local beaches. Something to be mindful of is by the second half of the weekend, if you're going to be out there, it's going to be about 2 to 4 feet and a moderate risk of rip currents at our local beaches. But regardless, whether it's a high or moderate, please be careful out there. If you're not a skilled swimmer, you're advised to not be in the water for tomorrow because of that high risk of rip currents. It does lower a little bit more to moderate by Sunday, but still please use caution if you are not too familiar with the water. Also looking at a water temperature of 62 degrees. So high pressure, as I mentioned, still in firm control in our forecast for this weekend. It moves a little bit more towards the east, and that will be by the second half of the weekend. You have this area of low pressure that triggers onshore flow. So as that happens, it changes that air mass. The air mass right now is a dry one. That's why we haven't had the marine layer. Also talking about those warmer than usual temperatures in the afternoon hours, so a warm one. And we also are looking at some gusty winds still in the forecast with those Santa Ana winds. Gusts about 25 to 35 miles per hour right along coastal mountain slopes for the backcountry, and then things calming down. In fact, we actually shift onshore. That's by the second half of the weekend with this area of low pressure. So that modifies the air mass for us. It brings back the moisture. It also will have our temperature slipping. Widespread 70s expected west of the mountains as temperatures start to slip each day into the start of next week. So that's by Monday, looking at one of the coolest days that we're expecting, and then we shift gears again. That's with high pressure building in our forecast. Now our temperatures will slip by Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, but they'll still be warmer than usual for this time of the year. We reinforce that with an area of high pressure by next week. So we will continue to be talking about that heat that's going to be in the forecast. When you look at the next 7 days, you have 80 degrees for the coast tomorrow. You're back into the 70s by Sunday. You're back into the 60s by Monday. Temperatures gradually slipping. And then we have temperatures warming up in response to that ridge of high pressure moving back in. You have 78 degrees. That's going to be the peak of the heat. Actually, 79 degrees is going to be the peak of the heat by next week for Thursday for the coast. So we are looking at Wednesday and Thursday being those warmer days. We also have the inland valleys, 80s to kick off the weekend. Last day of January, first day of February brings in the 70s, and we have the low 70s returning by Monday. A lot more sunshine in the forecast, lack of a marine layer as we progress. That's going to be on Tuesday and Wednesday with high pressure building in again, potentially even dealing with some Santa Ana winds back in our forecast. Models will suggest that and fine-tune that data into the days ahead. So of course we'll keep you posted. We hold on to those 80s by the second half of the week, but we notice that temperatures start to come down just a little bit more. 86 degrees, that's going to be on Thursday, 80 degrees by Friday of next week. You have the 60s this weekend for the mountains, increasing to 70 degrees by Tuesday. Those 60s set to return by the middle of next week. And you have the 80s across the inland valleys. Those are going to hold strong. It's not until we get to about Thursday and Friday of next week we start to have onshore flow influencing a little bit more that the temperatures just kind of slip a little bit. So back into some upper 70s for daytime highs. That would be for the desert, but that's not going to be until Thursday and Friday of next week. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will actually see you right back here tomorrow filling in for Sean. Have a good one.